Meet the ultimate high-functioning adult. You probably know someone like this, or maybe it's you. They are brilliant, highly articulate, and armed with massive intellectual strengths. They have deep reflexivity, meaning they catch their own flaws before anyone else can. They synthesize complex ideas effortlessly, and they operate with a sustained intensity most people can't match. This toolkit allows them to navigate complex social and emotional rules without ever missing a step. Look at this poem describing a feeling of effortless control. The author compares themselves to a sailboat moving with ease, gliding through winds and waves. They navigate human feelings and institutional rules. The goal is to see everything without ever being seen as a cause or an effect. It's a beautiful image of moving through the world untouched, leaving no wake behind. But then a completely different voice enters the chat. Think of it as a trickster or a rhyming, childlike truth-teller. This voice takes one look at that graceful sailboat and calls it what it really is, a shiny, symmetrical cage. The trickster points out that all this beautiful poetry and perfectly managed emotion isn't mastery. It's just a very elaborate way for a scared kid to hide in a kitchen. Here is how that cage actually operates. When someone offers genuine care, love, or connection, this highly active intellect intercepts the feeling instantly. Instead of simply experiencing the warmth, the brain categorizes it, analyzes it, and files it away. The emotion is processed before it can actually land, keeping the adult perfectly, rigidly safe. The result is a person who is entirely self-sufficient. Because they use their high-level self-awareness to instantly process every emotion, they never actually need anyone else to help them hold it. From the outside, it looks like independence. But structurally, it means they are profoundly alone, moving through life entirely unwitnessed by the people who love them. To understand exactly how this works, we can look at a framework from cognitive psychology called predictive processing. This theory suggests our brains are prediction machines, constantly trying to minimize surprise based on deeply held beliefs, or priors. For the highly defended adult, they built a strict rule in childhood. Needing others leads to pain or annihilation, so they constructed a massive biographical wall to survive. This diagram illustrates that defensive mechanism. As sensory signals try to come up from the bottom, the mind actively intercepts them. Now look at the top port. When raw care enters, the machine instantly metabolizes it into a finished artifact and spits it back out. Our rhyming trickster looks at all these heavy academic frameworks and predictive models and laughs. Why do grown-ups insist on turning their own hearts into data points and metadata? The trickster mocks the compulsion to split every psychological hair, pointing out that an algorithm can never explain what it means to actually feel something. The ultimate cost of this hyper-sophisticated processing isn't paid by the intellectual, it's paid by their partners, friends, and colleagues. When someone tries to love this person, their unscripted gift of care is immediately transformed into a managed lesson. The giver is left holding an empty, finished concept, rather than connecting with a real, messy human being. Let's examine this diagnostic matrix chart. Notice how celebrated professional virtues double as emotional armor. Rhetorical flexibility casts a shadow, becoming a way to avoid being pinned down.
Reflexivity becomes a tool to preempt critique before anyone else can deliver it. A perfect example is the facilitator stance. In a professional setting, holding space for others is a vital skill, but when brought into intimate relationships, it acts as a wall. The adult controls the intimacy by constantly observing and guiding the room. They ensure they are always the one who understands, but never being understood. Which brings us back to that earlier metaphor of the gracefully gliding sailboat. It sounds serene, but there is a physical reality to water. A boat cannot move through it without displacing it. As it cuts through the dark, glassy surface, a wide, turbulent wake spreads out behind it, disturbing the reeds on both banks. The idea that you can be an uncaused observer, floating through life without leaving a mark, is a complete delusion. It's a fantasy that only the front of the boat believes. The people living downstream, the ones standing on the banks, always feel the physical disruption of the adult's emotional distance. Attempting to move through life without needing anyone or affecting anyone isn't a sign of grace.
It isn't mastery. It is a refusal to accept the basic shared reality of human impact. You cannot walk across wet sand without leaving footprints. So how do you break the loop? Use complex psychological analysis and you fall right back into the trap. The analyzing intellect is the wall. The Tibetan Buddhist tradition of Dzogchen offers a radical alternative. It argues that the sophistication you use to examine your defenses is just another form of the defense itself. Examining the cage just builds more bars. The goal is not to destroy the wall through a sudden flash of insight. The goal is to recognize that the childhood emergency that required the wall ended decades ago. When you stop actively paying the metabolic cost to maintain that rigid barrier, it naturally softens into a breathing valve. To help that valve open, you have to practice unscripted vulnerability. Take a look at this first physical probe, the 6-second landing. When someone shows you unexpected kindness, resist the urge to immediately deflect it with a smart, graceful response. Just remain completely silent for 6 seconds. Let your face not know what to do, and simply feel the care. The second probe is the empty afternoon. Schedule 90 minutes with 0 generative output allowed. No taking notes, no building frameworks, no mining the time for insights. Your only job is to sit there and endure the physical discomfort of boredom and let the unprocessed feelings catch up to you. Finally, the one real ask. Find someone and ask them for a small, specific favor where the answer could genuinely be no. Crucially, it has to be something you cannot independently fix if they refuse. Let their final answer be the whole outcome, and practice surviving the fact that you actually needed them. The trickster's final verdict cuts right through all the remaining theory. Close the tabs. Shut the screen. Stop turning your own heart into a carefully curated file. Stop describing the water and just get wet. This image of the kintsugi bowl perfectly captures the reality of the unlocked door. True presence is not found in perfectly diagnosing your own trauma or building a flawless system to manage your emotions. It is found in dropping the heavy armor you no longer need and finally allowing yourself to be touched by the uncurated world.